think for me the points I was trying to make today were really about two things. Firstly, the need to kind of change the story that we're telling ourselves as the role of the individual in society. So I think there's a really important thing about language that we use, particularly the word consumer. And there's various studies that suggest that merely priming people as consumers with very light priming effect can narrow people's conception of their role in society, narrow their motivations to personal self-interest, individual self-interest, rather than an idea of the collective. And that actually, that's not necessarily human nature, and there's other language that we could be using, like citizen, for example, that can open up those ways of thinking much more. And then secondly, I think off the back of that, the other point I would like to make is that actually that's a platform for innovation and for some real creativity. If you can think in that way, it actually opens things up rather than shutting things down. And I think we're quite defensive at the moment about allowing ourselves to have that conversation about the language of consumer because we're so rooted in it. But actually, when you bring the idea of the citizen into play, and it becomes much more about involvement and participation, and there's some fascinating projects springing up all over the world, from kind of political parties in Argentina to social decision-making enterprises in New Zealand to wherever, that these things can really, this way of thinking can actually be a whole open door to massive innovation rather than a kind of shutdown moment. So when I talk about a platform for innovation, I think there are organisations that can genuinely benefit from going into this space. I don't necessarily think it's most organisations, and I think there is some threat in that. I think there are a lot of the structures that we currently kind of take for granted that are going to fracture and are going to change. I think we're entering a period of really quite significant shift. That said, I do think that organisations like the Unilevers of this world, the Marses of this world, by opening up these kind of platforms and engaging with people rather than doing stuff and selling it to people, they can benefit, and the benefits will be in terms of loyalty. So the case study that I am most engaged in and have done most work on is the National Trust, and that work has shown that where you engage with people and you talk to them at that more sort of peer-to-peer level, and you talk to them as citizens rather than just as consumers, we found that loyalty has, in terms of remaining members of the National Trust, which is a core element, because that membership has become something that means something to me rather than as just, and that I've bought into with the organisation rather than just a product I've bought from you, loyalty rises, and so there is much more value creation. So there are opportunities. I don't think there are opportunities for anyone, and I think if there were, that would kind of suggest that this wasn't a significant enough shift. I think the analysis that I would make is that there's a new kind of much more genuinely participatory society wanting to emerge, and that has the potential to emerge. At the moment, the kind of basic conception of marketing is in a place where that's hauling away from that society. So I think that we have the potential to become a genuinely participatory society where people are active in shaping their own context. There's also the potential still for a society where we remain consumers and we just become active in the sense that we choose the colour of our shoes. What I think marketing at the moment is trying to haul it is the mass of marketing is hauling us in the direction of that latter, that active as consumers path. What the skills of marketing can be part of is helping us go in the direction of active citizens. I don't think there are that many people thinking in that way at the moment. I think there's huge amounts of space to play, and I really hope more people do. But I think it requires freeing up our conception of marketing from selling the products that someone else in my organisation has made to consumers, to bringing my organisation to a forum where it can engage with the rest of society. And that work needs more thought, but it opens up far more conversations than a binary kind of buy, don't buy this or that.